February 13, 2011. I was brought up for so long with this fundamentalist Christian mentality that fears other religions and that if I explored them I would displease God. And I'm very terrified of what my mother might think. Even if she has mentioned a few years ago at the mall, "You should have been born Muslim." She said the other day when I told her of my interest in the prayer of the Easter, "As long as he does not become a Mohammedan." I thought, oh God, Mom, I think that I like Islam. Just saying something like this to her, that my choice of religion was my problem, not hers. When I think about why of loving the cloistered life of a nun and what she loved in Catholicism, I see in the Islam all these things, especially oneness, which is what attracts me. Is the religion that is probably closest to my own perspective than life. Gotta explore it or I'll keep coming back more intensely. I feel that if I explore it I can lose the fascination and return to Christianity. Part of me wants to convert and part of me is terrified. What if I go to hell? Is mine worst concern. And yet I felt the same fear in coming to Catholicism. Tonight I burst into tears because I was so torn with all of it. I've been researching a lot about Islam recently and reading stories of conversions and even tuned my radio to a Muslim station. I spoke to God how much a part of me hates Islam for awakening my interest and, of course, it is a love-hate relationship. I have to learn to live with my interest. But as I said, I am afraid to offend God, and what does Jesus think? I feel like a hypocrite at Mass, but I continue to go. February 14, 2011. I am often afraid to tell Christians who are dear to me from my interest in Islam, for fear that they will say that I am on the wrong path, turning away from the truth, and I will harm my soul. I think Islam is very severe, simple, strong and austere, unlike Catholicism which is more complex and even sentimental at times. Many things. The set of sentences in which they prostrate themselves, their simplicity, their separation from men and women during worship, praying barefoot, their wonderful emphasis on modesty and in the veil. Opinion about women. I considered myself a staunch anti-feminist, but when I see feminism through the lens I make peace with him, because women do not compromise their modesty and femininity. I also love the Ramadan fast, the pilgrimage they make, the cleansing of ritual washing, their abstinence from alcohol, the disapproval of courtship, preferring chaste and accompanied encounters between men and women, arranged marriages and so on. When I look at my life, seemed to be Muslim by the way I behaved. Hardly I had dates. I met my two boyfriends at my house or theirs, or I went out with them together with another friend or my parents, etc. From 17 I dressed modestly and loved to cover my head. I was never inclined to alcohol. I liked the challenge of fasting and established prayers, hence my old love for cloistered life. It's not that I rejected Christianity, but I found something with which I felt I could identify more and belong. Coming to Islam, I couldn't resist anymore and did a lot of research, reading many stories of women's conversion, and I began to believe that it was I can let God guide me. As my heart had already been won a long time, all I had to do was convince my mind. So I read articles from the internet and the English translation of the Quran, and I began to pray from the Islamic way, doing Isha at first, using a small mat to pray and doing wudu, ritual ablution, in the prescribed manner. It was hard for me to conquer my mind, but I prayed to God Almighty, compassionate and merciful, that He might guide me. I asked Him for a turnaround, and on the day I read some articles. Nothing seemed to wake me up, until I read an article in www.defending-islam.com called The Miracle of the Quran, by Khalid Beg. He had said the following: the prominent sage Dr. Hamidullah tells of an effort in Germany by Christian scholars to gather all the Greek manuscripts of the Bible, since the original Bible in Aramaic is extinct. They gathered all the manuscripts in the world and then to examine them, they reported, 200,000 narrations were found contradictory. Of those, an eighth are important. When the report was published, some people established an institute for Quranic survey in Munich, with the aim of examining the Quran of the same form. By 1993, 43,000 photocopies of manuscripts had been collected Quranics. Although some minor handwriting errors have been found, not a single discrepancy in the text was discovered. Wow, wow, wow. This really is a miracle. How would this be possible otherwise? I was so impressed that there was only one version of the Quran. As a Protestant Christian, I had searched the Bible more authentic and I took the King James Version, because it was authorized. So when I became a Catholic I realized that I was not the most original. I bought one revised version of the Bible, but considered the Douay Rheims version to be the most authentic because it was based on the Vulgate of Saint Jerome. The closest thing that I was able to get it from the early Bible. Unfortunately, it was very expensive. He loved the Jerusalem Bible, which was used in the liturgy, but there were also two versions. It was so confusing, but with the Quran, although there are translations for in several languages, there is only one version, the original in Arabic. And not only but every Muslim has access to learning Arabic and can become benefit from the true version. Very different from Christian history, when the Bible was only read by a few people, mostly priests, who could easily teach people their own opinions. It was then that I decided to submit to God. How it was happy. Not only that, but Islam's views on women have put an end to it in my struggles in the Catholic Church. I was able to reconcile the good things in the feminism with modesty and veil. Finally, I found a niche. My bitterness dissolved like dew in the sun. This had happened shortly after another event. After all the years of struggling to discern a vocation to a convent, I decided it was time to look for a suitable job so I could finally move out of my parents' house and become independent. And in the way that the things were moving, now it was essential. I mentioned it in a letter above, March 2, 2010. That he regularly went to a store to buy because I knew the owners well at the time, and because they were Muslims. I decided to apply for a part-time job there. The following week I stopped by to buy some trimmings as an excuse to ask for the job and share my interest in Islam. When I bought the trimmings, I started talking about the Islam with a wonderful lady who worked there, who gave me her sister's number for contact. Her sister knew someone who worked in a madrasa, Islamic school, and that he would be willing to teach me. To my joy I got the job, however, I was fired soon after. So the lady did something that touched me deeply, told the man that they should not greet me more with, hello, but with, salam alaikum, peace be upon you. So I replied, wa alaikum assalam, and peace be upon you too.